My girlfriend and I, we had a really nice vacation in Italy. You know, it was a magical trip, you know, a trip we talk about every day probably, but yeah, I spent like $30K on that trip. What's up, GQ Sports? I'm Solomon Thomas, and this is how I made, saved, and spent my first $1 million. We signed a financial advisor before I got drafted. Being a 21-year-old and getting, you know, millions of dollars is like a lot of pressure and a lot of work. Obviously a big blessing, but you're like, okay, what do I do with it now? You know, Terry, you know, knows our goals and he takes care of them and helps me invest, helps me make the right decisions, where to put my money. So, you know, having a financial advisor was huge for me and something that we really thought was very important. You can see the details of my rookie contract right here. All right, we talked about how I made and saved my money. Let's talk about how I spent my money. Very first thing I bought, you know, coming in the NFL, you always see guys pregame really dressed out in suits, swagged out. And I wanted to, you know, be professional and, you know, be looking nice, be looking sharp, and never really spent money on clothes in my life. And I finally had some money. So I was like, you know, let's look sharp. Let's get spiffy. So I probably bought like $20,000 in suits. Suits for my rookie year, $20K. There's a place in Dallas called Lombardi, Custom Apparel. I use them, they're great. And then, you know, my girl Sammy from Elevate, she always hooked me up all my 4 years, but yeah, she's been someone I used for a while. Best dressed teammate, Marquise Goodwin was always swagged out. He was always looking good. Another one was Eric Armstead, always got good style. Same with DeForest Buckner, who's also dressed by Sammy. Worst dressed, I'm gonna say my man Nick Bosa. Nick doesn't care. He's casual. He's just there to play ball, and you know he looks good in his stuff, but he's very, very, very casual. Probably sweatpants and a t-shirt. So after the suits, I bought myself a car. I bought a Tesla Model X. So yeah, it was my dream car. I'm not too into cars, but I was like, this car is cool as hell, and you know, it's electric and rides like kind of a spaceship. And that was like $130,000. Brand new Tesla, $130K. I kind of customized on the website and, you know, talked with some of the Tesla dealership near Palo Alto, and, you know, found the one I wanted, and I got it all tinted out and got a little wrap on it, not too much, but yeah, just some spots to make it a little more, look cool. One of my buddies drove it down to Vegas for me, and yeah, so now I have it out here, which is nice. After the Tesla, I remodeled my parents' bathrooms in the house. You know, my parents had sacrificed everything for me just so I could play this game, so always wanted to give back to them, so that's gonna be a little bit of a theme here. So it was about $100K to remodel their bathrooms in the house. Renovations for mom and dad's house, $100K. It was actually a Christmas gift. One of my mom's best friends is interior designer, and so I had her help me out, and she shipped out some tiles, and I wrapped them up, and I kind of gave them to them for Christmas, and was like, I'm remodeling your bathrooms, and had all the catalogs in them. So yeah, it was a little bit of a surprise, yeah. So they were very excited. So next, I bought my mom her dream car, so I got her a Model S Tesla. So I shipped that down for her for her birthday and surprised her at her school with it, and made a cute little video. So yeah, she got her dream car as well. Tesla for mom, $120K. My uncle was the first one in our family to get a Tesla, and after that we all kind of geeked out over him because he loved it so much, and you know, you can tell yourself it's good for the environment, and you know, it's a really cool car. So it was the best of both worlds. So you know, it was kind of became my whole family's dream car afterwards. I also got my dad a Tesla Model 3, so that was about $60K, and I surprised that for him for Father's Day. Tesla for my dad, $60K. Actually, my grandma has a Tesla as well. I didn't buy it for her, but she has a Model 3 as well. It felt amazing, you know, to be able to give back to my parents, you know, for all they've given to me, you know, driving me to practice, feeding me meals, taking care of my training, everything that they've done for me has led me to this point. So, you know, I've always wanted to give back for them for all the sacrifices they've given to me. So, you know, it was an amazing feeling. You know, my parents are super supportive. I don't know if my dad's missed more than 3 of my football games in my lifetime, and you know, just always been there for me. You know, same with my mom. You know, there every game. You know, just screaming and cheering me on. You know, through injuries. You know, through loss, through ups and downs. You know, they've been the most supportive. You know, I'm very into like fitness and training and recovery. So, I spend a lot of money, creating like a home gym kind of wherever I'm at. So my parents' house kind of have a home gym, my house in San Francisco and here in Vegas. And the home gym, probably about, $30K total, and then probably about $20K in all the recovery equipment I have, like from a hyperbaric chamber to a sauna. I have a rack, Kaiser machine, Versa climber, Peloton, salt bike. I'm really big into kind of like getting my own workout whenever I want, so kind of spend a good amount of money on that. Probably about $50K total, and like, making sure I have my home recovery set up at all times. $50K home gym setup. You can work out whenever you want. Obviously, if you're like not being smart and overdoing it and not performing as well, they're gonna get mad at you. Be like, hey, why are you so sluggish or tired? But it's definitely, you want to be able to get your own grind in too, because sometimes you don't have all the time in the world to fit in everything at the facility. So you want to go home, get some extra work in, work on your weaknesses a little more. Some people like the private grind. I kind of like to grind. I call all my gyms a dungeon, just like a place I kind of go find my alter ego and work on whatever I need to work on at. During the season, it's hard to keep your off-season body. We always call it season body or whatever you want to say. Like, it's just hard to work out as much and keep all the muscle on. We have practice all day, we have lifts, we have recovery, film. It's hard to keep that kind of work you're doing in the off season up throughout the whole season. So you got to find ways to maintain, get your recovery in and all that kind of stuff. My girlfriend and I, we had a really nice vacation in Italy, and I hadn't traveled much, throughout my time in the league, and it was my first vacation to splurge, and Italy was a place I really wanted to go, and really have a really good time. And we went for like 12 days, stayed in the nicest spots, and it was a magical trip, a trip we talk about every day probably, but yeah, I spent like $30K on that trip. Vacation with my girlfriend, $30K. We did everything. Like, we tried to get it all in the 12 days. We were in Rome, Florence, and Ravello. Her favorite place was Ravello. It was just so beautiful. And my favorite was Florence. I just love, all the architecture there, the buildings, the food, just all the hills and everything. In Rome, we saw the Vatican, went to the Colosseum, did all those like tours and everything, had a little boat ride out in Positano and the Amalfi Coast. And, we were kicking up living life. It was probably the vacation of a lifetime for sure. My sister died by suicide in 2018, so mental health is a huge kind of part of my life, and I try to be an advocate for mental health and try to normalize it. And one of those efforts I do is by donating money to certain foundations, and I also created my own nonprofit with my family, my cousin Ray, and so I put a lot of money towards that as well. Around like $75K in donations to start the defensive line and get it running off the ground, which is my family's organization. So yeah, probably $75K in that. $75K in starting my foundation, the defensive line. Yeah, I bought a house in San Francisco after, I got drafted there, probably my second year on the team. And, it's an area that I love, area that kind of spent a lot of time in, close to college, around a lot of close family friends, private, beautiful area. And, I was, very blessed and fortunate to be able to buy the house, and a little modern house, but it's very open, a lot of light, there's a place where you can kind of relax, and a lot of happy vibes, good feng shui. And then furniture for the house was a lot, and I wanted to make it very comfortable. I'm a big guy, I might have my teammates over, wanted to have, comfortable furniture. Got this couch from Restoration Hardware called the Cloud that you can legit sleep in like a bed. Got a really nice bed from the Karosky Mattresses in San Francisco. My first house purchase was one very meaningful to me, in a house I love a lot, and an area that I love a lot. Furniture for my new house, $200K. The house was about $3 million, but my down payment was about 10% of that. Ran out of money because I spent more than $1 million, but you guys can just add it in right here. Well, I feel pretty good about it, probably could have done, without, $20K in suits or, some other things. But I think I've done well with my money, been meaningful with it, got to see places around the world and see new cultures and, give back to my parents, give to certain organizations and, have a, beautiful home to live in, so I'm happy about how I spent money, definitely, some ups, some downs, but it's part of, having money and learning how to deal with it. The advice I would give, a young Stanford guy coming up to me, I would tell him to live like he's still at Stanford, but also, take care of himself like he's an NFL football player, and to invest in his body and, save money for investments coming up, because he's going to have a lot of alums come to him with opportunities to invest in certain Stanford companies or Stanford startups. To be smart, but, also, take care of yourself and make sure that you're setting yourself up for your job and to have the best job. Yeah. That was it, guys. Thank you for listening to me on how I spent my first million. I'll see you on the field soon.